The brother of the Shin Bet chief, David Zini, his brother Batal Zini, is accused of carrying out 3 cigarette smuggling operations into Gaza, for which he received 365,000 shekels, the equivalent of $117,300. According to the indictment, he and his partners knew that smuggling could, quote unquote, serve to strengthen the power and support, promote, and fund activities of terror organizations, including Hamas. Not a good look. Uh, Depending on what side of the aisle you fall, you have people on the Israeli right saying this is some sort of conspiracy against his brother David Zini, or you have people on the left saying, okay, this of course this has to be real, so this guy's a bad guy or something like that. I'm going to come out a little bit in the middle here. Israel has very strict journalistic laws. You're not really publishing things unless it's airtight and of the public interest. I also know that given the outcry about alleged bias when it comes to the judicial system, people are going to be up in arms if there's any even hint of a perception of being unfair. So I just want to read here from Haaretz. It says, Batsal Zini, the brother of Israel's Shin Bet security service chief David Zini, was charged on Thursday with aiding the enemy during wartime and receiving bribes for smuggling cigarettes from Israel into the Gaza Strip. Zini is also being charged with unlawful use of property for terrorist purposes and obtaining property through false pretenses by the state prosecutor. If we go a little further down, it says Zini was arrested 2 weeks ago on suspicion of committing security offenses related to smuggling goods, along with his subordinate Aviel Ben David and another suspect Amir Halpern. According to the indictment, Halpern received 4.3 million shekels from the smuggling operations, part of which was shared among the defendants, while Ben David received 815,000 shekels. The state, and this is the key part here when we're looking just at the facts. Again, it should be focused on the facts and what is actually provable, what's knowable, and what has thus far been collected. The state prosecution possesses evidence against Zini, including the testimonies of Halpern and Ben David, who implicate Zini in 3 rounds of smuggling goods into the Gaza Strip. The prosecution also holds Zini's own confession, in which he admits to receiving a quote-unquote sum of money from Ben David's and cellular location data that corroborates Ben David's version of events. Okay, assuming that's true, he clearly did something. There's something going on here, and it's relevant. It's relevant even if his brother wasn't the head of the Shin Bet, but given that his brother is the head of the Shin Bet, it's particularly relevant, and that makes sense. Right, left, doesn't make a difference in terms of politics. It's completely sensible that you'd have extra attention given that familial connection. Zini's lawyer said that the indictment reached them only after the matter had already been reported to the media. According to them, this is "quote unquote" evidence that the state prosecutor's office chose to manage this case through the media rather than through the courts. They downplayed the severity of the offense, arguing that it's only about cigarettes. Any claim of aiding the enemy is baseless. We will receive the evidence and respond accordingly. Okay, so as the defense says, you're talking about cigarettes and selling them illegally into Gaza. The idea that you'd smuggle goods in is problematic, particularly if you're making a profit. So this will play out. But I do think that the way in which the internet is dealing with these allegations is quite sad. It has nothing to do with David Zini, the head of the Shin Bet. Absolutely nothing has to do with his brother Batsal, who is a reservist. That will play out in court, but it's one of those things that has to be examined. Batsal Zini will have his day in court, and things will play out as they will. It's curious to see how far-reaching it is. Of course, any suggestion that members of the Israel Defense Forces would be using their position to illegally send goods into Gaza is highly, highly problematic. More to come on that very, very soon.